My parents gave their home as a wedding gift to my sister, even though I had been paying their mortgage for 5 years. 2 months later, they wanted to move to my vacation house, so I refused them, but then the cops called me. Part 1. My husband, Mark, and I pulled up to the venue where my sister Lily's wedding was about to take place. The envelope with $10,000 was tucked safely in Mark's jacket pocket, our wedding gift to Lily. On top of that, we'd already covered about a third of the wedding expenses. It was a lot of money, but Mark's investment banking job, and my position as a marketing director, meant we could afford it. Plus, Lily was my only sister. As we walked in, I spotted my parents immediately. Mom was fussing with Dad's tie while he pretended to be annoyed, but I could see the smile playing at his lips. They looked radiant, that was the only word for it. Mom's face was practically glowing with happiness, and Dad looked 10 years younger. Something twisted in my gut. I couldn't remember them looking this happy at my wedding 5 years ago. They'd been pleasant enough, sure, but not like this, not bursting with pride and joy. I quickly pushed the thought away. This wasn't the time to drag up old feelings. The ceremony went perfectly. Lily looked stunning in her dress, and her fiancé, now husband, Jake couldn't take his eyes off her. I sat between my parents and Mark, trying to focus on the happiness of the day, rather than the nagging feeling that my parents' reactions were somehow different than they had been at my wedding. After the ceremony came the reception. We ate, drank, danced, and then it was time for the speeches. First, the best man, then, the maid of honor. And finally, my parents stood up together. Mom tapped her glass gently. We want to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate our beloved daughter's wedding. There was something about the way she emphasized beloved that made me shift uncomfortably in my seat. Mark must have noticed because he placed his hand over mine. Dad continued. Watching Lily grow into the beautiful woman she is today has been the greatest joy of our lives. She's always been special, always brought so much light into our home. I smiled and nodded, wondering if I was just being oversensitive. Of course, they loved Lily. They loved both of us. Then Mom reached into her purse and pulled out some papers. Jake, Lily, your father and I wanted to give you something to start your new life together, something special. She held up the papers for everyone to see. We're giving you our family home as a wedding present. The room erupted in gasps, followed by thunderous applause. I froze. Beside me Mark went rigid. I stared at my parents, then at Lily, waiting for someone to laugh and say it was a joke. But it wasn't. My parents were beaming proudly. And Lily didn't look surprised at all. She was crying happy tears, hugging Jake, who was staring at my parents with his mouth hanging open. The house, my parents' house. The house with the mortgage I'd been paying for the last 5 years, because my parents couldn't afford it anymore after Dad's hours got cut, and Mom's arthritis made it hard for her to work full-time. I managed to plaster a smile on my face, but inside I was screaming. Not once had they mentioned giving the house to Lily. They hadn't even asked me. And I was the one paying for it. Tessa, you okay? Mark whispered. Fine, I said through my teeth, still smiling as Lily and Jake made their way to the front to hug my parents. An hour later, I couldn't take it anymore. I found Mark by the bar. Can we leave? I asked quietly. He took one look at my face and nodded. I'll get our coats.